Hey everybody, welcome to Storytime with John and Friends. I'm your host, John. Today we have a really special episode for you. This person, they came on the show, they shared, a lot about what it's like to be in the band, how they write, how they formed, all that good stuff, what it's like to be in Japan. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. You may know him from playing lead guitar in the band Half Heard Voices. Please welcome my new friend, Dillon Baird.
You were pissing neon green every day.
That big ball of heat in the sky was too much. I thought there was a bear.
Reality goes, yeah, fresco. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, everybody?
Welcome to
Storytime.
Storytime. Dillon, thanks so much for joining the show, man.
Yeah, dude, it's an honor. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I really appreciate you coming on. How's your day today, man?
It's been actually pretty eventful. I was joking with my girlfriend that I need a hobby because as musicians know, it's very easy to let it consume you with all your free time and especially working time. And as a drum and guitar instructor, my life is essentially all music. So I was like, I need a fucking hobby. I was like, I'm going to get an Xbox. So we've just been setting it up and just playing around for the past couple hours. And it just feels good to be kind of devoid of thought other than just taking it in instead of outputting. So it's been a very relaxing, cold day. So
Nice. I love that. And you're in Maryland, correct?
I'm actually in Virginia, Leesburg, Virginia, which is it's like, 30 minutes from the Maryland border. So we just call it the DMV.
Yeah. Sorry for your Baltimore Ravens loss. The Bills had
to do it. Dude, I'm Commanders all the way. I don't give a shit about the Ravens, unless the Commanders lose, then it's like Ravens. But in this case, there's, no other team to root for. So it's all
Bills.
good.
The Bills are always, that's America's team. It's always time to root for the Bills.
Dude, I love the Bills just because of the legacy and their colors and just everything about it. So, I'm not that big of a football or sports nut. Like I mentioned, music has consumed my life ever since I can remember. So it's kind of like an in-passing thing, and it's fun to be a fan. Something outside of, the creatives. And especially I manage this bar in town, and just seeing everyone's excitement in there as, I'm working. I'm like, all right, I can understand how exciting and how, contagious it can be. Right, so it's more fun for me and from an outside perspective, just watching everyone, kind of get their fulfillment out of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm like so enthralled with. I have seasons with the Bills. I'm actually working at the new stadium right now. That's across the street from the old stadium. So it's just Bills all the time for me. I love football. I guess it's because I stopped playing music as much. Because, over the years I was touring, for 7, almost 8 years, I toured almost extensively. And when that came to an end, it was kind of like, all right, it's time to you dive into something else. And as I've always loved the Bills and I always loved football, but I've become much more of a football guy than I was prior.
Yeah, it's a natural progression. Because I think we're about the same age. I'm 33. Are you mid 30s?
I'll be 34 next month, so yeah.
That's right. Yeah. It's for us. It's like when we hit our mid 30s, it's either we get into craft brew, we get into lawn work, or we get into sports. Yeah. And all three, the perfect trinity, all together. That's awesome, right? So it's like if you're hitting one of those marks, you're on track. You're doing all right.
Yeah, I'm still a gamer as well, but it's much harder with a 1-year-old.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. I reached out to you to see if you wanted to come on the show. I checked out the band. You guys rip. You guys shred. It's really cool to listen, especially with like the fact that you guys have released instrumental stuff of your songs. Because as a musician, I like to kind of sit back and listen to the instrumentation of songs. And sometimes it's hard to do with the vocals in there. Not to take away from the vocals, but like I said, as a musician, a drummer for 30 years now, it's cool to listen and you guys are very, you shred, you're technical. The drums are all over the place. It's really
Yeah.
cool. I really enjoy it.
Yeah,
How did the band come to be?
So this was, I mean, I guess it starts back in middle school. So Stefan and I, the bassist, we grew up in the same town and went to the same high school, and our bands would always play together, but we never played music together up until I was a freshman in college, and we started this deathcore band called Dawn of Desolation. And that just kind of ran its course. Steph eventually went up to school up north. He went to Berkeley. And it was a sad day because before he left, he was like, don't stop playing, man. And me being dumb, I was like, yeah, don't stop playing either. And it's like, well, duh, you're going to a music school. Of course, you're not going to stop playing. So a couple years went by, and, music kind of went by the wayside for me for a little bit. I eventually ended up going to school for phlebotomy, working in a hospital, was on track for nursing school and all that stuff. And in the meantime, he hit me up and was like, hey, do you want to play drums for us? And I was like, what do you mean you're going to a music school? There's like, a dime a dozen for drummers. And it was this progressive instrumental style band with Al Joseph and Darrow Chia. And they're like, we don't want an all Berkeley band, man. That's lame. We want a road dog. I was like, send me the tracks. And I listened to it. I was like, oh, shit, this is like some Dream Theater. Like serious prog and fusion. And so I gigged with him for about a year or so, cut an album. And then after that, we stopped playing music together again for a little. And then we ended up becoming roommates. And I remember I was just like, I feel like making an EP. And I was working part-time at the studio teaching drums while working at the hospital in the morning. So I would come home, and I still have a video of it. I'll have to send it to you. And I'm in my scrubs, and I'm just tracking and, riffing for about an hour or two. And then I go to work, come back, and rinse, repeat. And we sent it off to a couple of our shredder friends and wanted some guest solos. And they're like, you guys going to play this out? We're like, not really. We didn't really think about it. It was just like a passion project. Mm-hmm. And we kind of got convinced by our guest soloist to pursue it. So we put together a band, drummer, vocalist, and it all started there, 2018. And it's funny because I know you preface with influences, and I have my top three. He is legend. By the way, like I mentioned, just like geeking out that you had, Skylar. I'm not afraid to fanboy.
Oh no, that's fine.
I saw that. I was like, this is incredible. Like I love his commentary and his approach and his philosophy and all that. And especially Logan from All the Pretty Things, not to digress too much, but being on the road with him and his crew, only for 2 weeks, but we came super close, and we still stay in contact, and hopefully the stars align. We'll be on the road with them this year or whenever. But no, he is legend, Megadeth, and Killswitch Engage. Those are like the big three for me. But as far as influence in my actual writing came from Al Joseph. That time of playing with him, even though I was playing drums, I discovered what Lydian was, the fucking Lydian mode. And my girlfriend, anytime we're watching a movie and we're just like, taking it, I'm like, Lydian, hearing the music, and she's like, damn it, shut, and now she takes it out. And it's just, it was like this revelation musically, because I would only play in just like harmonic minor, pentatonic, or, the metal, the Phrygian shit. And I heard that, and that just opened up a whole new wave of approach for me. And I was like, I love death metal. I love hard hitting riffs. I love the sonics of just concussion. But if we can add that sense of wonder and whimsical, fraught with just being completely lofty, it's this perfect amalgamation, sweet and salty, yin yang, whatever you want to call it, that we infuse into our music. And I just think it's pretty interesting that, guitar and melody would be influenced from me playing drums. But, real world influence, just playing with other people, even my students, the things that they bring in, I conventionally wouldn't listen to. My kids are super big into like the Fat Rat I'm sure you've heard of him. I call it like the YouTube kind of EDM.
Yeah.
It's super like uplifting and all that. And I'm like, God damn, like the timbres and like what sample is that like on the synth? And then I start listening to arrangements. I'm just like, okay, that's why that riff sounds so cool, even though it's 3 notes. He did, XYZ halfway through the song, and it's just like a music lesson for myself. And as you know, I feel like a lot of influence for us musicians and as artists start at a very young age when we understand what music can do for us. So I hate to be that, older sounding dude, but it's like I have a hard time finding new music that I like spin that I have on repeat. So a lot of it is just kind of through osmosis and just happenstance of experiencing a band from someone else, or let it be professionally with my job where I have to dissect this song for, little Timmy who heard it on a YouTube short, which I think is even better because it'll hit me in a way when I'm not expecting it and be like, okay, it's kind of like being blindsided by something you weren't expecting to be, so influential or moving that is going to have a bigger effect down the road.
That's great. So it's crazy you say that as far as like, the experiences are kind of influential as well, because I feel like when personally, when I've been writing drums or something for a project, I'll be just kind of out, maybe working or something, and it's kind of playing through your head, and then something will happen and I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of a groove. You know what I mean? Like, and you as a drummer as well, I'm sure you can relate to that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, dude, anytime I'm at a stoplight and I'll hear like a V-twin motorcycle, I'm sure you do this too.
Yeah,
Every drummer does. And it's just like, and you're just like, you start air drumming it and like, bring out the voice memo or something on your phone. I got to use that. You eventually never do, but it's just kind of fun to, to backlog it,
So are you firstly a drummer or guitarist?
Yeah, definitely firstly a drummer. The way I describe it is with drums, I would feel comfortable sitting in most situations. If a cat was like, hey, give me, I'm not a jazzer, but just to the extent of my knowledge and language appreciation and understanding of the drums, be like, just play some jazz group. I'm like, all right, I can get by. But with guitar, it's more like, and I'm not trying to sound epic, but it's more like painting a picture. I know scales and I know what sound I want and how to get it. But if, you're like, give me this 5-2-1-4 chord change, something in C, whatever, I'd be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I would just kind of feel my way through it and just listen. But drums are definitely my first instrument. And just by proxy of not having a lot of people to play music with, I grew up in a small town. It's called Thurmont, Maryland. It's a one stoplight town. And I was in 5th grade and it was just me, my brother, Cody, and my cousin, Jake. And, that was it. Those were the only musicians we could really play with. So I was forced upon myself to get that fulfillment. I'd be like, well, that guitar sounds cool. I want to try that. So I would, hop back and forth one day to the other. And so that's how I got my start on guitar.
Okay. Very cool. So you said before I hit record, you said that you guys are, getting ready to write a new record or currently writing a new record, getting ready to record. What is the writing process like with you guys?
Yeah. So it's really simple. I get extremely obsessive over songs. And before I moved in with my girlfriend, I really don't think she knew the extent of the obsession. And I wish I could write faster. I really do. But, when I feel like the inspiration is there and I'm just in a groove, I'm not that type of musician where I can sit down and just be like, I'm going to write a song today, or at least like start to piece it together. It's just got to happen. And then I'll go with that momentum. I'll just get nutty and try and write the album in a month or so. Okay. That didn't happen on Moon Burial. That was about a year of writing because I was living out of my van at the time. And my all my equipment, like my Mac, my guitars, everything. It was at this old studio I was teaching at. So I didn't really have access to recording all the time, but my old boss, he was gracious enough to, let me come in certain days and all that. And so that kind of delayed the writing process. Mm-hmm. But now, I wrote this last album in a cool month and a half, like laid the groundwork. And then we started going on tour. And then in between that, we would piece together guitars. It was, no rest at all. We'd get home, have about a month to do whatever. And we just keep tracking. All right, time to go back on the road, come back, keep tracking all that stuff. So it all starts with me. And I've always given everyone in the band, rightfully so, liberty to write songs or write riffs or whatever. But it's, I just usually get to the finish line first. Okay. And I'm like, I got the drums down. I got, all the backing tracks, all the synths, all that good stuff. Guitars are written. Bass is kind of piecemealed together. I'm not a bassist, so I just give it to Steph. I'm like, here's a rough idea of what I'm thinking. And then he always, absolutely kills it with the arrangements on that. And then Alex, our vocalist, we've been getting a lot closer as far as me helping out or producing the vocals. The first couple, we're all living pretty far away, and it was like, hey, what do you think of this demo? And we give him notes, and it would just go back and forth. But, him and I were basically neighbors now. We live 20 minutes apart. So he'll come over and we'll, do some dry runs, do some demos. And I enjoy that because as a guitarist, I think of vocals and solos. And he's got to kind of like bring me back down from the stratosphere. Cause I'm like, dude, you should do this fucking like Justin Timberlake kind of run. He's like, I'm not doing that. Like, he's like, I can't sing that live. How do you expect me to sing that night after night? I'm like, okay. So we kind of find somewhere in the middle, because I believe in all of us as not just bandmates, but as musicians. We're all, perfect for each other as far as our proficiency and what we have to offer to each other. And it's like, I see the potential in everyone. It's like, I want to push everyone as hard as I can to get the sound that I know that they can produce that'll resonate with them. And I know Steph does that with me. He's at the helm producing guitars and bass. He comes over to my studio and we get down with the get down. And, there's sessions where it's like, we don't really get anything done because, for one, I suck at alternate picking, and the dude puts the magnifying glass. He puts me under the microscope, man. And, we don't do the Dick's Sporting Goods band shit where we, quantize or like, tab the transient. It's like, we comp takes, but it's like, we want to be as close as we can without losing that feel. And he'll just have me going. And he's like, all right, switch strings. Those strings are done. And we're still in like this one section. So it's a reciprocated belief system. It's like we all push each other at the max. And that all starts with me finding this lump of coal, making the arrangements and just giving it to these guys. And then they polish it off. And then we end up with an album. And this one was a lot faster because we knew our touring schedule this past year. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to, come home, work the gigs that I do, and write a record with a free mind. So it was December of last year into January where I was just like, all right, it's just writing central. Like, we still have to play shows and stuff, but it was just like, put everything I have into it just to get this album done.
So where do you find your inspiration? Like when you're out on the road and you're going through those experiences?
Great question, man. This is our first time, what I consider heavily touring. Before 2023, we were, doing the Weekend Warrior stuff, just trying to be, or trying to maximize as how many shows we can get. Mm-hmm. So when you do that, and, you've toured a lot longer than I have, so I'm sure you share this sentiment. When you're done with a one-off show and you go back to work, it's like the sting is lost and you're like, all right, back to reality, and you wash, rinse, repeat. But on the road, it was just so exciting to be out there. Mm-hmm. And we're so new at consistent touring that the action, that is the juice for me. So just being on the go opens up my emotions to a point where I'm like, I've never experienced this with, with my brothers, where we spent so much time putting things together and, trying to check off all the boxes we can and just, climbing up the ladder, whatever the fuck that means. But I guess, playing more and to bigger audience, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But just the fact of being out on the road and being able to say that, we're giving our music a chance on a national level, that happiness and that excitement that fuels me when I come home. When we're sound checking, there's a couple songs off of Moon Burial that I wrote a couple of leads and hooks to. So, it's never like, oh man, I saw this one thing and it hit me at a certain point, and that gave me inspiration. It's just this amalgamation of experiencing things at a slow burn level. And especially our tour in Tokyo, that was beyond anything I thought I would ever do as a musician. Like I mentioned, we started this project, or this band as a project. It was just kind of like, well, let's just do it because we love music. Right. And Steph and I, we had this moment. We're in this hotel in the middle of Shibuya, and we're overlooking the city, and it was straight out of a movie, man. We both looked at each other and we're like, this started in, my mom's basement, basically, because we used to record vocals at his parents' place.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the fuck happened? Like, how did we get, we're playing with Nile. Like, what the fuck, man? And I still get chills thinking about it. So inspiration on the road for me, it's still just doing it, which makes me excited to write because, I know these tunes got us there, and especially with making friends along the way, it's just a magical feeling to have. Mm-hmm. It's like, I can't believe that all this work that we did is paying off, and not in a financial way. We are not making any money that goes into our pockets. It just goes right back towards the band. It goes towards merch. It goes towards the van, goes towards mixing, everything. I think I've only seen maybe $5 from the band because I accidentally pocketed a $5 when someone bought a sticker. I'm like, all right, sick, I got a coffee. So, man, yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster to be experiencing this at a level, especially, like I said, since we're unsigned and we're scrapping. We have the eye of the tiger, and we just want to keep going. So
that's great. Do you have a booking agent? That's how you're getting all these tours?
No, it was actually through one of our older managers. And it was like this, we were kind of not lottery fed, but it was these things that would pass through. And at the time, it was more of like, I think this tour is fit for you. Like, you guys will do well. Because the last thing we ever want to do, and this is a true story here. So we were offered a tour with Yngwie Malmsteen, and I was like, hold up, like Yngwie, like more is more Yngwie. And I was like, there's no way we can do that. There's no, like, I am not going to do that because we're in way over our heads with it. I know we have solos, mm-hmm. but that would just set us up for complete failure. People would be watching like, who are these guys? Mm-hmm. So we have to know our limitations as far as, will the shoe fit in the shoebox kind of thing. And these past tours have proven, yeah, they did. They're great stepping stones for us. And, we played a good bit of venues that, made us go like, oh my God, like this place is huge. There's like 1,000 people in here. And, but it was more so, something that felt right to where we knew we were getting success from these fans that had never heard us, never seen us. And that's one of the compliments of the highest regard for me, at least, is every show there, there'd be people like, where'd you guys come from? I'm like, yes, I want to hear that. It means we're shocking people, and we have something to offer that maybe they haven't had that itch scratched yet or something. So, but yeah, it's mainly through management. and hopefully those tours come back this year. I know we toured our asses off, man. We had we toured with Go Ahead and Die, and we did that 3-leg with Sessanna, All the Pretty Things, Vamps, and Limbs, and then we did the tour with Nile. So little all over the place, you know. We did death metal, thrash, and that elder emo. So hopefully we get those same opportunities. We just gotta keep it grinding, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust me, I know the grind. You guys have already been on bigger tours in the amount of time you've been around than I was throughout my entire touring career.
Really?
Yeah,
man.
Dude, so.
You know, we couldn't believe it either. You know, our first, like I hate to say real tour, but like our first national tour, I guess you could say, was with Soulfly in 2023, and
yeah, that's crazy.
And I look back at those photos, and you can tell that we were scared, dude, but not like stage fright, but just we were lethal, man. We were just like playing for our lives, because I remember our first show. It was at this place called The Rock, and yeah, it was in Arizona. And there's just video of us just like looking like we're ready to beat the shit out of everyone in the crowd, even though we don't play that type of music, you know. But we were just so like, oh my God, we are here. We grew up in Maryland, and we used to play in skate shops and one stoplight towns, you know, and then we're here. Like, what a world. So yeah, that really set it off, and it's like, well, we have to keep doing this now. Like, there's no turning our back on.
You caught the bug.
Yeah.
That's great. So what is your live performances like? Is there a lot of energy, or is it like, because you guys are technical, do you gotta kind of focus a little bit more? And especially you with, you know, you're screaming at times, you're fucking shredding. Like, there's, you know, are you jumping around getting nuts, or do you need to have a little more focus when you're performing?
Oh, man, we're the big and tall crew, man. We stand and deliver. And even with songs that are a little more rock and roll, and, you know, we're not doing our taxes trying to, you know, hit all the notes. You know, our identity, or at least our mindset when we go up there, is, you know, give the fans and give the audience member a performance, first musically. If we were doing some slam, dude, I would kill. I would love to play one show in a slam band, because I would murder the stage. But, you know, with our music and what we have to offer, you know, we have to not play it cool, but we have to be confident.
Yeah.
And I think it lends itself well, because, like I said, we're all big dudes, and my first rule and philosophy of performing is make the audience comfortable. And nothing makes me feel, I'm not throwing shade at any bands that do this, but if I'm in the front and I just see like Ricky Bobby's balls like just fucking going to my face, and, you know, they're throwing themselves around, and if I don't know, man, I my favorite shows as of recent have been, and I'm not just saying this because they're my boys, but All the Pretty Things. Like, there is a sense of cool calm and collected musicianship. So I'm like, oh my God, like, it's powerful. You know, they look like titans up there. And, you know, with our performance, we let Alex, our vocalist, you know, run around like SpongeBob. It's like, me and Steph, we're going to be cool, man. We're going to be gargoyles. We're going to be statues, you know, we're going to riff, and we're going to back up our vocalist. So, don't expect us to be doing cartwheels or, you know, flipping over each other.
Right.
We stand and deliver, and, you know, especially on shows where the stage is like as big as my coffee table, we call it, you know, studio effect. And it's just like, all right, boys, you know, just look at the last person in the audience, make the room feel huge, because we're not moving, and just stand, deliver, give them the, you know, the musicianship, give them the notes, make the vibratos count, play in time.
I love that. When I was playing, so I played in this band called The Traditional. It was like an emo pop punky band. Our number one thing from day one was, when we perform live, we want to sound like you just put the record on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I played to a click. I've always played to a click. I mean, as long as I can remember, but we made sure to play to a click. We would don't get me wrong. We'd move around the state, we headbang and, do the thing, but there's something about a band that can pull it off, and it doesn't have to be a gimmick. You know? One of my favorite performances I've ever seen, and I've seen them multiple times, was the Chariot. They were incredible, but do you think they've ever played a song the way that it was recorded?
Oh, no. And that's fine.
Absolutely not. But that's what you're expecting when you go to this. You know what I mean? Right. Whereas, where you go to see Half Heard Voices, you want to hear all the shit that's actually on the record. So I have a lot of respect for that. That's cool.
Thank you, man. And that's been our MO, especially because we've never, even when we first started out, our EP Dissidents, our first EP, it had some more breakdown stuff. It was more driven towards mosh calls. And, as we've matured in our musicianship, we've understood that it's we like that style, but we're not going to lean on it. We're going to move into more arrangement and things that you can sing and things that you can remember a little more. And that gives us joy when we see the audience just kind of like the SpongeBob fish, just watching, at first, because we thought oh, no one's digging this. But then we remember it's we're not a mosh band, and some crowds take it into their own hands and they start moshing. I'm well, that's just a bonus. We never expect people to beat each other up over our tunes. It's we want people to listen. Yeah. And like I said, our stage performance kind of makes people feel comfortable. Yeah. If they don't want to mosh, and other than that, it's just, if everyone stays and everyone's just looking up, that's what we want. That's it. I
love that. You guys give me a really big Moontooth vibe. Have you heard of that band?
Oh man, that is Alex's. That's one of his top bands.
Yeah. So I had the singer on a little while ago, maybe a year and a half ago.
There's so many episodes that I need to listen to, and I favorited that one or started just so I can remind myself to listen to that. That's awesome. That
was fun. That was funny because so we recorded an episode and then Zoom corrupted the file.
Oh no.
So then we had to re-record the episode, but we did it 2 months later. So I didn't remember any of the stories that he shared. He didn't remember half the stories he shared. And it was it was brand new, but yeah, he's a really good guy.
Absolutely.
So I reached out to you. You said you got some stories. Let's dive right in. What do you got for me?
Oh man. I think one of my favorite, this was on our Soulfly tour. And one of our crew members at the time, I won't mention names or anything like that, but he was a very, very sweet guy, definitely a lot younger. And we're loading in, and fans, they open doors and stuff. And he comes up to us kind of scared looking. He was like, guys, this girl just offered me a free tattoo if I licked her ass. And he looked like he was in trouble. And, and I was like, go get a free tattoo, man. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Why are you upset? It's I don't know, man. This girl just came up to me. I'm like, go do it, man. What the fuck? Why is this even a conversation? But other than that, we're very, I don't want to say straight-laced because that's boring. We're very focused on the road. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the stories that come about are just happenstance of outside material. But I would say another memorable one.
Hold on. Did he get the tattoo?
Oh no, he didn't get the tattoo.
No, he didn't do it. No. Did he lick her ass?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. The story unfortunately ends right there.
Oh, what a bummer.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't want to say nothing ever happens on the road, but when we're on the road, it's half of us work remote. Mm-hmm. Alex, our vocalist, he can work wherever he wants. Me, I do part-time online catering. So we have the nerd bench seat in the van, we'll lock in and be making calls and stuff. And we keep it pretty PG, man. Let's move forward. And I'll be thinking,
okay.
I'll be thinking of another one because I know that was in the prompt and I totally biffed it. But
do you guys have any vices? Do you guys have drinking, smoking, anything like that while you're out?
No, man. I think of it. I was like, I can just drink at home with my girlfriend.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think because we're a small crew, that I'm just afraid I'm going to forget something. I'm going to forget my fucking amp somewhere in California and get to Utah, and it's like, but also it's, I mentioned before, the action is the juice. The playing is the reason that I love being on the road, and playing's even just buzzed. I'm like, man, that just cheapened the deal for me. That ruined the excitement.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate to be in a band where that everyone understands that. And the only times I've ever drank is, when we have an off day. But even that, every other off day, it's like, well, we have to drive 5 or 6 hours. Like, I don't want to be hungover,
right.
Like being in the van all day. So yeah, we're all very focused and okay. So this is a nice commentary. So when we're on the road with Go Ahead and Die and Body Box, this was outside. I think it was in Buffalo. It was Syracuse. I don't know. It was fucking cold and it was snowing. It was in New York. and Harry, the vocalist, God bless him. I love that dude. Miss him. Him and his boys. They were like, you guys really don't like do anything. You don't drink. You don't smoke. I'm like, nope. Just coffee and cigarettes. He's like, man, y'all out here just fucking raw dogging this. And I thought that was like the sweetest thing to say, because a lot of people think that we're just doing shit in secret. Like the tour manager on the Ella Santa run, this was in Joliet. I remember we were backstage, and this is leg 2. So he got to know us, and he just thought we were fucking with him, that we didn't want beer or anything. He's like, hey, you guys sure? We're like, yeah. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, we'll take Coca-Colas and some Red Bulls. He's like, okay. And it's just, I guess it's not as common for metal bands to not partake or party, but I don't know, man. We're just getting older, and it takes longer to recover. And I'd rather have a coffee.
When I started touring, I was in my early 20s. So, I mean, I was the main driver. I don't trust anybody with my life. So either I was driving or I was sleeping for the most part. Like if I'm not driving, I was on the bunk that I built in the back and I was passed out kind of thing, but we had our fair share of drinks, quite a bit of them. But I do feel, it's funny. I stopped drinking about 3 years ago. For no reason other than I caught COVID. I was like, I should take a break from drinking, whatever. And I just kind of, I decided I'm going to take a year, after a month, I was like, let's go 2 months, 3 months. All right, screw it. Let's go a year, kind of start from scratch and see how I feel, whatever. And I just felt good, and I just never really went back. But I think that when you are in your early 20s and you're out doing this thing that like most musicians dream of doing, you kind of indulge a little bit more. So would you agree that the fact that you guys are, in your 30s may affect that?
I think I can only speak for myself. It's funny you say, you mentioned, people in their 20s just fucking throwing down. I feel like I really got that experience during the writing period of Moon Burial, because that was a pretty turbulent time. And my close friends and family know that there was some, I was kicking grandpa's old cough medicine a little too much and living out of the van. And I ended up renting this office space in downtown Frederick, and eventually ended up moving in there, not illegally, but frowned upon. I was still paying rent, but no running water. I was just sleeping on a mattress on the floor, and, I had my studio set up and my guitars and stuff. And it was a lot of drinking and a lot of writing. I don't know how, maybe that's why it took so long to write Moon Burial, but it was an interesting thing because a lot of those song titles reflected where I was at mentally. And while the song lyrics, don't correlate to what I was feeling with intention when I wrote those titles, it's interesting to look back, with our song Familiar Ghost. I was blaming other people for showing up in my life or reminding me of bad times, when I was like, I thought I got rid of you. Like, why are you reminding me of how much of a piece of shit you are? Like, why are you still, showing up on my news feed or, all this stuff. And I realized, especially with that song, it wasn't, them, they weren't the ghost, and it was me. I was myself haunting my own soul. And, a bunch of the, like, Void and Vision, that song it just sounds fucking depressing. It's just abysmal, and that's all you see. And through that writing period, it was not cathartic, but it was this earthly manifestation of hearing these songs and these titles and looking at it. And I was like, oh my God, like that was the answer, not a solution, but that was the answer to looking at where I was during that year. And listening back to it now, it used to be kind of hard because I would still blame people, right. Those songs where I was like, pissed off for the wrong reasons or pissed off at the wrong people. And, growing into myself and drinking less, I'm able to look back. I was like, oh my God, I was the problem. I did this to me. And these songs now, I think it's life happens in not mysterious ways, but proper ways. And when I wrote our upcoming album, I took a break from drinking. I had a pretty bad night with my girlfriend, and I was like, you know what? I'm done drinking until I'm done with this album. And I wrote it sober, and listening to it, there's so much less evil in there. There's so much, and that could be biased just because of me knowing the circumstances of when I wrote both. But another story, not like a outrageous story, but we were playing in Philly, and this one guy came up to us after our set, and he was like, dude, there's some evil in your playing. And I thought he was talking about our song Earning Your Evil. And I was like, that one? He's like, no, just in general. He's like, there's some evil going on in there. And that was still around the time I was, getting over myself, getting over those feelings of being a shithead and understanding that it was my fault. And I was like, man, that hit me hard because, I'm not like an angry or depressed person that shows. I'm just like, I'm loving it. I'm not a salesperson, but it's like, I don't want to be anywhere else. So at first I thought it was like I was putting off this sad, angry vibe. He's like, no, man, there's just something in your music that's happening. And very interesting to hear that from a perfect stranger or, a perfect fan, because it resonated and something awoken, something was inside and a light bulb went off. And to me, that's kind of how I feel about my own music. It's like, if I'm listening back to a demo and there isn't that like aha moment where I like throw my cigarette, I'm like, that's it. That's the chorus. That ain't it. Okay. I'll listen to my stuff. And if I don't love who I am in that moment when I'm listening to it, that ain't it. It's gotta be 100% like sold. And it doesn't have to be a crazy riff. It can be like a pre-chorus. And if I'm listening, I'm like, oh, that is exactly what I meant. I'm there. And I think that translates to fans and listeners in ways that they can't really pick up other than, in an instance like that, where they see it coming out of us. And that's really special because when it comes to music, I've unfortunately not lost my luster for enjoying new music, but it's very, it's a 9-to-5er. I listen to tunes that my students bring in and I'm dissecting it. I'm listening to it objectively. So when it comes to writing, I want to make sure that I make it so obvious to people that I want them to feel something, and that might be on the nose but listening doesn't have to be just like a background thing. And it's easy for us to do that when we're doing the dishes or driving. I feel like music should be its own occasion. And that's why playing shows and touring is extremely important, because people are there for one reason, and it's to watch a show. Foremost, people may be there to get laid, get loaded, who knows, but they're there seeing a show. So if I can write something that evokes any sort of difference in their life, and maybe they think differently, maybe they understand themselves better, just like how Moon Burial did for me, that is all I ever want. That is it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's called growth.
Yeah. As my girlfriend says, we love the growth.
Is there anything that comes to mind if I were to ask you the funniest moment you've experienced on tour?
I'm so boring. I'm such a boring person on tour. I just hang out, drink coffee, and talk to people.
That's totally fine, man. That's I feel like most people do that nowadays. I think it's a little different when you're doing like a DIY touring, and you guys are in like a setting where you're on this, this big tour with these national bands or whatever, and it's like an actual touring package for the most part. And I think that plays into that factor, because there's got to be a little more professionalism in it. Whereas like when I would tour, it was like, all DIY shit. So like you're reaching out to cities and you're reaching out to houses or people who, basically anybody who's willing to book you for that date, right? So like there's a little bit of more shenanigans in that essence. Like we were, there was one tour we did a full US, and day one the van broke down. It wasn't even our van. We borrowed someone's van. And we did it with another band from Syracuse who are, some of our best friends now. And I think 2 days into the tour, we got it fixed, left. 2 days into the tour, I'm driving through Iowa in the middle, or Illinois or something, and it's the middle of the night. There's no lights, there's nothing, and the lights just shut off. And we have no lights for the remainder of the tour.
Oh shit.
And it's just, so I feel like the DIY stuff's a little bit more crazy in the essence of like, you're kind of just like putting shit together and leaving,
Right.
So I understand you're not being boring. You're just being comfortable. You know what I mean?
We're showing up and doing the job, being the opener.
Exactly. Yes.
We want to be Scouts honor, like
Absolutely.
on our best, we don't want to fuck up.
Right. No, I get it. I totally get that. And it makes sense. So you said that you were in Tokyo?
Yes.
What was that like?
I hate to say an absolute dream, but it's the only way I can describe it, because I've been obsessed with Japanese culture since, fucking early middle school. I'm a huge anime fan. So going to Japan has always been a life dream of mine. And when we got the offer, I was in tears. I was like, oh my God, dude. Like, not only do I get to go to this place I've always wanted to go to, but I get to play in Tokyo. So we all took our significant others, and it was, a lifetime memory event. And we had about 5 days of exploring the little town we're in, and just people are so gracious, very, very generous. Everyone speaks very quietly. We had to get used to that, realize how loud we are as Americans. But truly feeling like a fish out of water, only knowing 5 or 6 pleasantries in Japanese, made it a lot more impactful, because you're just watching everything and you're taking it in. And you're trying to do your best to not be, not be an American. But the shows were absolutely insane, packed every night. In between songs, everyone was dead silent, which was a little off-putting at first. And, we wear our in-ears, and usually you can hear people bullshitting and stuff, but it was just dead silent. I'm like, oh, this is sweet. This is, totally different.
Right.
but I intend to go back just for leisure with my girlfriend here, hopefully this coming year. But we'll see what the touring schedule is like. And hopefully we do another tour back there, because it was our third and last show in Osaka. And we like front row, people are singing our songs. And awesome. I don't play with my glasses on, no contacts. Glasses aren't rock and roll. I can't do that. And I see people singing along, and I thought I was like hallucinating, and they were singing our fucking songs. And, my emotions are true in the way of me being just like, I can't believe we're doing this, not to sound like a giddy schoolgirl, but I was like, fuck, dude, this is Japan. People are singing our songs. It was unbelievable. And that is a high you cannot buy. And to end the year with that, well, actually, no, we came back and then we had a day to rest. And then we got in the van and drove to San Diego for our last leg on the Sessanna tour. But to leave on that note, man, was I'll never forget that, ever. It was absolutely incredible.
What kind of things did you do there? Like, was there any sightseeing, anything of that sorts?
Yeah. So my girlfriend was the wise one, and she booked us this like mini tour with a local. So it was like 10 to 12 people, and his name was Akira. Dude's a trip, man. We get there and he's just taking us to all these back alley bars, some places where they won't even let Americans in unless, there's a local there with you. And so we did that the first night, got properly ripped, slept all day the next day, helped with jet lag. And then we just explored the cities, explored, how many coffee shops we could find. The 7-Eleven is there, absolutely. Like, they are just pristine. They have actual food. That's pretty much where we ate for the whole time. Mm-hmm. The bullet train was, something I never thought I would do. It's just, you see the whole countryside from Tokyo to Osaka in about an hour and a half. And you realize you're going, you're going like 180 miles an hour, fucking honking and shit. And, it's, just walking around, and I embrace being a tourist in my mid-30s now. I love it. So I was like, I need to go take pictures. I need to get like T-shirts and stickers and all this stuff for my students. And, just a very enjoyable place to be.
That's cool. What was your favorite part about it? Like, what do you wish was something that was there that would be in America, as far as like, it could be anything, like the way the people are, the interactions, or stores, anything like that? Yeah.
I would say the disposition of the locals and just Japanese culture in general. I only spent a week there, so I'm in no way, shape, or form a walking ambassador or liaison, or I know 1% of how Japanese culture is.
No, you're the liaison now. No, you're it.
So I noticed everyone is just more to themselves. They're very conscious of, this may sound contradictory, but they're to themselves, but they're aware of you. No one runs into each other. No one's shouting on the street. No one's talking on their phones in public. It's very clean. You carry your own little waste bucket, or, you have a little backpack, fanny pack. No trash cans around. It's the cleanest place I've ever been to. It's the peace and quiet there is just contagious. And we got back to Dulles here in Virginia, the airport, and immediately, it's just cars honking, people are smoking, throwing their cigarettes, yelling, and I'm just like, this sucks, man. This is so unenjoyable. It was just there's a lot of pride that people take over there in their country and themselves, and just not being a nuisance. So the peace and quiet, I think, is definitely a moral that we should all be a little more aware of or privy to, and just not talk as much, even though I've been rambling for a fucking hour.
That's what you're here for, man.
I know.
So aside from Tokyo and Japan, is there a show that comes to mind that's like your favorite, most memorable show in the States, maybe?
Oh, 100%. The Whiskey. Whoo! Man, we played the Whiskey on the last leg of tour, sold out show. very emotional show for us because that's our dream. That's always been, how you have your guitarist or drummer, your rock stars printed out or, posters on the wall growing up. And it's always been the whiskey for me in my mind. It's like, I would love to play there. I don't know how I'm going to play there, but it's got to happen. And we were rolling up and we just see it on the corner. And we got maybe 2 hours of sleep that night. We got kicked out of a parking lot. And it's just like, holy shit, that's our name on the marquee. And it's sold out. I'm like, this is insane. Absolutely insane. So that one was for the memory books, man. I can't wait to go back there at any capacity, even if I'm just seeing a show. But playing there again would be an absolute treat.
That's awesome. Was there any performance that you may have attended, when you were younger that made you really yearn to be a musician?
Yes. There's two that come to mind. The first one, it was Ozfest, I think 2001 or something. That was my dad. He's the coolest. He took me and my brother to Ozfest, and that's when I discovered what metalcore was. I heard they had Soilwork on there. Trivium was there that year. Killswitch, As I Lay Dying. I think Killswitch was there. I know As I Lay Dying was, but that really made me go like, oh my God.
Before he went to prison.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Way before. So that one definitely was like a turning point of just like that's what I want to do. And the second show, even though we were already playing, we this one Summer Slaughter was still around. Or no, they came back this year, didn't they?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Oh God, I live under a rock. But it was, I know I was early college, and we played a show with the Contortionist, Volumes, Rings of Saturn, and Scale the Summit. So absolute like legendary lineup. And this before I feel like all those bands really, made their claim to fame and just became, titans in their own right. And I remember watching the Contortionists, and it just blew me away. I had no words or thoughts to what I just experienced because I've never heard them before. Mm-hmm. And they were touring Exoplanet, and I was like, I really have never experienced a show with those kind of sonics. So not only was that like an inspirational nexus, that was also like a turning point or a turning of a chapter. And I want to keep doing this. The deathcore band we're in at the time, it was more so we're just doing it because we wanted to, mm-hmm. and we thought it was fun. And that's the same thing for this now. If I wasn't in this band or if I wasn't playing music, Logan from Pretty Things said it perfectly. He's like, we would die. I would die. This is a part of who I am. This is an exhaust fume of what I feel and what my soul is. So over the years going to shows, and I always tell my students too, I'm just like, dude, you got to go to shows. You can't just play in your bedroom all day and not be moved. Going to shows, it's a ping pong. It's back and forth. Because I've gone to shows where I hate myself afterwards because I think that dude is insane. I need to practice. I go home and write. And then it just goes back and forth. And especially this past year touring with Body Box, we came home and I was like, I need to write a harder song. And it's going to be the closing track on our album. And it's still within realm of our sound, but people are going to listen to it and just be like, what the fuck? Why are they doing, this is we say like, this is the heaviest that we can confidently go without saying, hey, we're like a slam or deathcore band. So I'm excited about that. But that the shows just keep pouring in as far as things that slightly change my direction or my influence or what I think Halford voices should sound like. And that's fun. That's fun to me because every album cycle we're like, we like this sound. Let's go with that. And then we listen back. We're like, maybe it was the track we didn't really think would be our sound, or there's elements in there that grew on us that we kind of leapfrog off of. So it's a sliding scale as far as shows. And what is going to influence the sound on that next album cycle.
Absolutely. Do you guys have any pre-show rituals or superstitions before you get on stage?
Yes. Don't get drunk. And we have to tell, I love Alex. Alex, I'll catch him with a few beers, and it's not that he gets drunk. It's just alcohol dries out your throat.
Right.
And if he's drinking more than one or two, he'll come up. He'll be like, I drank too much. I'm like, you motherfucker. Like, I was like, I'm going to go find you some tea, some hot honey tea, drink that. But no, we do the power huddle. We all put our hands in, and it's not for us to get psyched more, to get stoked on stage, because we're already excited to be there. It's more so to cleanse the palate. If we had a shitty drive, if someone's dog died, if someone had a, argument with their significant other, it's just to like get us in the arena and be like, all right, assholes, time to play. 30 minutes, give it to them. We always have the saying, and we say it with utmost respect. We're not telling anyone in the crowd like this literally, but we always think just fuck these people, in the sense of like, we're here to fuck things. Like, we're here to be ourselves. We're here to play our songs. Fuck these people,
Yeah,
we're here. And I love that attitude. Just like whatever happens, man.
Yeah, I love
Be a
that
straight
as well.
cowboy. Love
Absolutely. What are the future plans for the band?
Yeah. So imminently we are looking to finish up this album ASAP. We already have the guitars done. We're doing drums in February, which is like 2 weeks. And then just tour the album as much as we can. Probably looking for some summer tours. Fall tours, definitely. Touring in the fall is so much more fun than touring in Texas in August. So fall tours are desirable for sure.
Love that. Dillon, I really appreciate you coming on the show. This was a blast. It was great meeting you, great chatting with you. I'd love to have you back anytime. Maybe when you guys are done with the record and you got something to promote for it. Love to have you back on.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. I would love that. And hopefully my hair will be a little longer, so I look a little more metal. I just cut it off. I was having dreams about it, so I need to grow this shit back out.
That's great, man. Yeah, again, thank you so much. It was a blast. I really enjoyed having you on. If there's anything you want to promote, social media, anything like that, now's the time.
Hell yeah. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Spotify. Listen to our shit. Send us pictures of us playing last year. They're still coming through, so don't be strangers. Fucking suck dick motherfucker. That's all I got.
Everybody, thank you so much for sticking around, watching, listening to the episode. Make sure you go out and support the band. Give their catalog a listen. Leave comments. Let them know what you guys think. Tell them I sent you if you haven't listened before. Real quick, Buc-ee's, Wawa, or Sheetz? I forgot to ask. Yeah.
I got to go with Sheetz because that's what I grew up on. Buc-ee's is a lifestyle, so I can't put it in the same catalog as Sheetz or Wawa. So Sheetz, but if I had to die and go somewhere, it'd be Buc-ee's. So fuck it, yeah, Buc-ee's. I'm gonna say Buc-ee's.
That's what everybody says, and I never had the opportunity to go. I love that. All right, so, sorry. Back to closing. Thank you all so much for sticking around. Make sure you support the band. Pick up merch, anything they got going on. Keep your eyes and ears peeled for new music, any tours they may have coming up next year, or this year rather. Wow, I'm still back in December apparently. And all of their information will be down below in the description, all their links and everything. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Bye, bitch.